What is up, guys? Welcome back to another poker vlog, and this vlog's taking place in Murphy, North Carolina, at Harrah's River Valley Casino, and this is just a picture, I guess, of what it looks like in the at night or in the evening, I guess. I wasn't able to take any pictures while I was here, so I just used a Safari image, but you'll be able to see from the table footage that I was there. But anyways, yeah, I guess we'll just get into the first hand of the two sessions that I recorded here, and I'm going to try something new, and I'm going to kind of have like a picture of the person that I'm going against, so that way you kind of get an idea of what I'm seeing. But I have pocket jacks, and I ended up raising it up $20, and I got two calls, and the flop was 8-9 queen rainbow with $64 in the pot. And on this kind of board right here, I'm going to be, I guess, considering that I have jacks, I still like betting because I have a lot of great turns for me. Like a 10, jack would make things a little bit weird, but any jack or 10 is not bad for me. But I bet, and I still get two more calls, and the pot's 124, and the turn is an 8, now pairing the bottom card. I still don't hate it here, but when I get two calls, I'm putting someone on a queen and someone on a straight draw, and I should probably be putting another bet to make the straight draw pay for it, but I don't like the fact that there's two opponents. So I decided to check, and the opponents both are going to check as well. And after we do this, I know that I'm probably ahead of one of the opponents, but like I said, I'm just afraid that there's a person with a queen. But I'm no longer afraid when the jack of spades, which is the miracle turn, now making any 10 a straight, but giving me a full house. So the player, first act, is going to lead into me for 30, and I am going to then put in a raise to $110. And this lets the button player fold, and it's back to the not under the gun, but the small blind player. I believe he was either small or big. Regardless, his first act. He ends up calling, and I win the first hand of the session. All right, guys, I just turned off the AC. Maybe that'll help with the background noise. But regardless, I think that first take was not bad. So no offense, you're going to have to deal with that background noise. But I have ace 10 of spades here. And typically, I like raising this hand, but I was actually in the small blind. The player had raised to 20, which I feel like is a fairly big open, especially for the tight Murphy games. So I just call, and so do two other players, and the flop is amazing, giving me a nice 3 of a kind with the top kicker. Because I'm first act, I'm telling you, every poker vlogger will tell you this, and every decent poker player, always check to the aggressor, and that's what we decided to do here. And sure enough, he's going to continuation bet this board, as he would with all of his ace king, kings, jacks, queens, everything. And he made it 20, and I called, as did just us two. So we're heads up. I checked him again, and I don't know if I could lead here or should lead here, but he's going to end up checking it back, which I guess that takes away his pocket kings, because he'd probably just bet a boat here. It takes away his ace king, because I think he would bet that also. So he's probably got jacks or queens, never really aces either. And the river is the deuce of hearts. And I think I should probably just lead here, and then hopefully he calls with a hand like jacks, queens, or aces. Definitely might even raise aces, but I decided to check because, like I said, I think depending on the size, he could just fold if he has nothing. Like ace-queen just folds, ace-jack just folds. But if I check to him, he theoretically has to put in a bluff, right? So I decided to do that, and I checked to him, and he thinks for just a second, and then he checks back and says, I have pocket jacks. And I think that's a hand that could call a small bet. But obviously I show the ace 10, and I'm good, of course. All right, guys, and now this is probably the craziest hand I've been in all summer. There's going to be two villains for this hand. This hand, I cannot tell you, I guess, I forget the day that it happened, but it was one of the craziest hands that ever took place. I have 9-10 offsuit, and I ended up calling an $8 open. as did the player in the purple hoodie. The opener is going to be the gray shirt. And I checked in the dark, and the action gets kind of crazy. After I checked dark, gray shirt bets 12, and he's a looser player, so he could have anything here. The purple hoodie player, great player. He raises to 40. And then the hero, which is me, it's back on me. And at this point, I checked dark to disguise the strength of my hand. Not really disguise it, but just because if I have a hand like this, then I'm very, very strong. So I decided to raise it up to 125. The gray shirt jams, purple hoodie calls, and I tank fold. And you're probably wondering, Goose, why are you tank folding? And it's just because I think I could have so many better hands here. And sure enough, the pot is massive. It's an $840 pot after all that. And the player that called purple hoodie has king 10 for top 2. And of course, the looser gray shirt player has the nuts with queen jack. And I was third place, which is crazy. Turn and river are both bricks, which is insane. And the gray shirt player is going to scoop the entire pot. So one thing I would say here, guys, 2 pair is a very, very strong hand. But given my image, which usually I hate the fact that people view me as type player, I can get away from hands like this because what are they raising when I'm in the hand, All right, guys, so this next hand is going to be the very, very first hand of my second session that I actually did yesterday, which was Saturday. I forget. I don't even know. July something. I don't know. But anyways, I'm at Murphy, North Carolina again, second session. I have ace king offsuit in the small blind. I call and open from what I thought was a tighter player, and I didn't realize this player actually raised every single hand. So I called an open of 15, or I guess of 10, as did 3 other players, and the flop is jack 10-4. I ended up checking, obviously to the aggressor, because that's what you're supposed to no matter what. I could have 3-bet pre-flop, but like I said, some of these players at Murphy, most of them don't open light, so I really thought he had something good. But he raises to 15, and I decide to call. I guess he raised to 20. I decide to call. And the turn, beautiful. We binked the nuts on the turn, which nuts, if you don't know, just means the best hand. And obviously, if you're wondering why I decided to go ahead and call that 20, it's because I had 2 overs and a gut shot. And like in this instance, we absolutely bink it. So he ends up making another bet of $20, which is a 1/4 size bet. Regardless of what he's raising with, he could have a whole lot here. He could have top pair, 2 pair, whatever. So I decided to go ahead and raise it here now, especially considering there's a flush draw. I raised it to 110, and he decides to tank call. And the river is the king of hearts, now making any ace a straight. I honestly hate that river because he could have just any straight, but I decided to jam he has about $60 left, and I go all in. And he doesn't just snap call, so I immediately know, oh my God, he has a set or 2 pair. I really put him on a set of jacks or 10s. He tank calls, and I show him the ace king, and I end up winning a pretty decent sized pot, over a $400 pot, my very first hand sitting down, and you better believe I'm very happy to win it. All right, guys, so now I don't want to call it necessarily the hand of the summer, but if there ever was a hand of the summer, this is arguably it. And I've played not a lot of poker. I've played about 30 hours this summer, but I've played a decent bit. I have 8-6 offsuit, and it's the same player that we just played against previously, and this is a couple hours later. The flop comes 5-7 ace rainbow, giving me an open-ended straight draw. He was not the original raiser, I should say. It was a different player that you'll see later. But I checked to the aggressor out of the small blind, as I would do with my entire range here, whether I had a set, 2 pair, top pair, or nothing. And player's going to end up betting for, I believe it was $20 or $30, but we'll see at the turn. And the older player from the previous hand, he ends up calling. And I could theoretically raise here with my open-ended straight draw. But like I said, I think someone's got an ace here, and I don't want to get re-raised. And thankfully, we just binked the nuts on the turn when the 4 of diamonds comes out. And I decided to check one more time because I believe that the player, at this moment, my read was that the player, that the original raiser, the way he'd been playing is he just bet. And sure enough, that's what happens. I checked to him, and he ends up betting for $30, which is a little bit less than half pot size bet. If he has ace king, ace queen, I figured he'd go for a little bit bigger. But he could have ace king, ace queen here and just not want to get in a huge pot. The older gentleman decides to call, and this is where we are not going to just call. We decide to bump it up to $125, and the original bettor, who I think if anyone can make a call, it's going to be him. He decides to fold. The old man calls, and we still have the nuts. When the Queen of Hearts rolls out, I guess the original bettor could have two pair or top pair queen, or I guess trip queens technically. But I decide, before I can even make my action, the older man checks out a turn. And I told him, I told the dealer, I said, I didn't check yet. So knowing when he checks out a turn, he probably doesn't have a super strong hand, so I can't get super greedy, but I still have to get some money. So I bet for $110, which is less than what I put on the turn. And he decides to look me up, and he's going to end up actually making the call, which is going to be for my biggest, not my biggest hand ever at a casino, but my biggest hand of the night. And like I said, when he checks out a turn, I just know if I check, he's going to check back. So like I said, I bet 110 here, which after he calls is going to make it for right around a $600 pot. And I was very happy with that win here. I think that I played it pretty perfect. I guess I could check raise the flop, but I'm just happy to have got there on the turn and win a huge pot. All right, guys, so this next hand, this is about 30 minutes after I won the huge pot. I have Jack 5 of clubs, and I'll go ahead and say this. It is good poker etiquette to not hit and run, and I decided to make a really, really light call with Jack 5 suited, and I get there. I called a $10 open, as did an older gentleman, and I flop a flush, the Jack high flush. The third nuts, only losing to the ace whatever suited, queen whatever suited. And like I said, I'm going to always check to the aggressor, but the older man who was not the aggressor, he decides to go ahead and donk bet for $20. Very, very weird. I decide just to call, and so does the younger gentleman with the tie-dye shirt. He ends up calling too. Turn pairs the board, which I don't love, but I don't hate. It's just a weird turn. I don't exactly hate it, but the older gentleman is going to make another bet, this time for $25 for about a quarter size bet. I don't want to give off any alarm. I want to just, at this point, my hand did get downgraded, but I'm just going to call and look to bet big on the river. And it gets kind of weird. This time the tie-dye shirt decides to raise 50, a min click, which is super crazy. And not indicative of a really strong king or even a 9. So I actually decided to tank fold. The river is the 5 of spades. And I'll tell you why I tank folded. It's just because the tie-dye shirt man he actually was the original raiser. And I think he would do this with his top set. I think he just would do it with a set here, whether it's kings, or maybe, I don't think he ever raises king 9, but theoretically he could have a flush. But anyways, he goes all in, old man folds, and thankfully I was right. The tie-dye shirt shows ace 4 of clubs for the flop nut flush, and we avoid probably what could have been the biggest cooler in a casino that I've ever experienced. So I'm very thankful that the board ended up pairing and helped me get away from that. All right, so now the title of the video is Playing Poker Possible to be a part-time job. So as you know, I'm off this summer. I won't really, I guess, discuss. You guys probably know that I'm a teacher, but I won't go into much detail. But my availability during the summer is nights, weekends, because I coach football. So really, if I was to get a part-time job over the summer, which a lot of teachers end up doing, I would only be able to do a couple nights out of the week for 24 hours a week. And I've been off for 7 weeks. So I kind of just looked at what jobs are paying in the area I live in. And I used to work at Ingles, so I put that job. Walmart is a big store where I live, so I put that job. And then Chipotle is probably the biggest fast food type store. So I decided to get those 3 places. I just, looked online to see about how much they make starting out. And this is what I got. So theoretically, if I had decided to do a part-time job, here are the three places I could have chosen from. And as you can see, the numbers after taxes, there's some good. I mean, they're not bad. An extra $2,000 basically is what I would be making from Ingles and Walmart, and that's just in the 7 weeks. And then at Chipotle, I mean, $2,700 in 7 weeks for a part-time job. That's not bad at all. But see, it's 168 hours of work, which, do I have that time? Yeah, sure. But I mean, why did I get into teaching? It's so that way I could have summers off, right? So here is how my summer went for poker. And as you can see, it was a good one. And it's actually a little bit more than what I would make at two of those places. So we did 6 sessions, recorded sessions at least. When I say recorded, it's just the casino or big home games that I go to. Anyways, so in these games, we made $66 an hour for a $2,000 profit. And is playing poker possible to be a part-time job? And the answer is yes. And truthfully, it just comes down to pros and cons, because there is that to both, right? If you want guaranteed money, then obviously go with a part-time job. But if you care about your time, when I say care, I mean, if you want to have more time off, then, I mean, if you are good enough, I would play poker. Really, it comes down to just believe, and that's why I have this little picture there. I'm really happy I decided to believe myself, not get a part-time job, not because I hate work, but just because I think that, I love poker and I really want to try to get better at it. But I think I am good enough to make some money from it. So thankfully this summer, I decided to take that chance on myself, and it was profitable. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this vlog and just listening to me talk about poker and it being a part-time job and whatnot. But anyways, I love you, and I will see you in the next vlog.